Well, hello and thank you for joining me for another Alex on Tech and ITY TV video. I'm joined today by Karim Zuhri. He is the COO of Cascade Strategy, which bills itself as the world's #1 strategy acceleration and execution platform. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited about this.
Thanks for taking the time. Now, Karim, great companies are always built on solving pain points, and especially pain points that haven't been solved to anyone's level of satisfaction. So, as your About Us page asks, what caused you to bring Cascade into the world kicking and screaming, and what year did this epiphany occur for the founders?
Yeah, absolutely. So it started around 2016, and I think everyone who has worked in a large organization has definitely screamed when they have seen this PowerPoint deck that was prepared by 5, 6 people in the organization, the leadership team, the CEO, put a bit of people in a room, and they started brainstorming on what is the best PowerPoint that we're going to announce to the team this year. Almost that gym resolution at the start of the year. We got to do everything better. We got to do everything nicer. And let's have this amazing presentation. Let's put as much effort into the design and announce the strategy. Well, we know where these strategies go at the end of the month or even at the end of the week. They go almost nowhere. Nothing happens. People go back to their offices and they start working on what they were actually planning to work on, which is sometimes anything but the strategy. So when you go into these organizations and see that pain of the strategy on a PowerPoint and best of cases, getting it translated to a spreadsheet, you know that strategy execution has a real problem. And that's what Cascade wanted to solve from day one. And it has been working very well because a lot of people understand that pain of keeping that strategy as a privilege to 3 white males in a boardroom who have done an MBA and thought that they know everything about the world and never getting executed, never getting measurable or tangible outcomes out of the strategy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit like the New Year's resolutions. They last about a week and then you just go back to what you're doing before.
I have that with the gym every single year, but I'm trying to be better.
Yeah, absolutely. So, can you please tell us about the products and services that Cascade offers and how this platform works to truly let companies accelerate and execute on their strategies?
Yeah, so Cascade is a SaaS business, and we have a software that we actually expose on our website that anyone can try at any point in time. There's a freemium version of Cascade that is coming up soon, by the way. But Cascade is definitely a very intuitive, user-friendly software that is for organizations of any size to execute the strategy. It's very simple. It is broken into 3 big pieces. The first one is where you put all your plans and ideas. Plans should not be perfect, but they should be put somewhere. And it's a collaboration effort of all the people in the company to put these ideas and projects together. Then after you have done a bit of planning, you can start executing as soon as possible these ideas and projects and measure them with the best KPIs that you set in place. And then the tracking is everyday work, looking at how the strategy is shaping up, how the measures are going, how the projects are happening, and try to adapt as much as possible and as fast as possible towards something better and bigger, and hit your vision and hit your end in mind that you have planned with your teams. So it's really about planning, executing, and tracking. Obviously, there's the software, and there's also our teams helping you adapt to this change of thinking strategically. So we have custom success managers, custom experience managers, and what we call strategy execution principles, helping you with workshops, helping you with the change of that culture, and helping you with the adaptation and adoption of your strategy.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a business plan on steroids with all the bits that are missing and kind of having a business coach to help you to succeed.
Absolutely. This is our biggest promise that we speak about in our conversations with our customers from the start, is that our goal is to make you hit your goals faster. And we need to understand what you are planning for the next 12 months or the next 3 years. And really, these business objectives are our focus in the platform. As soon as we put them together and try to help them cascade up and down all these ideas and projects, is where we feel comfortable that we will deliver on our promise.
Yeah. Now, you just gave a sort of a short version of the customer onboarding process, but, I'm a customer, I've signed up to the program. So, how do I start implementing Cascade? What is the process of onboarding a customer in a bit more detail, getting them up to speed with your training and then starting to get the exceptional results that you promise?
Yeah, so most of organizations find us online through our blog articles, through our strategy factory, and a lot of the knowledge that we share around strategy. They can start a trial at any point in time, and they have a couple of weeks to get it actually trialed, and they can put anything into the software themselves, and they can just like really get started with the strategy execution in a couple of minutes. Now, obviously, we're talking about small teams. And as soon as we are talking to a larger team or a large organization, we'll bring our teams on board to talk to these customers and really explain to them the implementation process of adopting this strategic thinking and software across the entire organization. Within a couple of weeks, if we align and we understand that the team has a plan, which is what most of companies have, they have a strategy, they have never thought about that execution piece of it. Once we capture everything that they have in their organization, from KPIs, from systems, the way they put these measures in place, and also what are the ideas that they are planning for this year, we can get started with any customer within a couple of weeks. Now, the customer success manager is the person that is taking that kickoff call, reminding the teams of the values that we think of and what we really want to implement with our customers, which is keeping that big picture and the end in mind very clear, and cascading down the vision, but cascading up the energy and the ideas and the project from the team itself.
So, the world has seen continued digital acceleration over the last 2 and a bit years of the pandemic. So what changes did you see in your platform and in its usage by your customers over this time?
Yeah, I would say it started like it was in a 3-phase like journey. The first one is always the denial or the rejection or almost like the hysteria around what's going on. It was a pandemic that no one has been ready for, obviously. And that's actually the challenge that I think we learned from this pandemic is we need to be ready for anything. So that denial or rejection or hysterical moment was where a lot of organizations said, strategy takes a backseat and let's focus on the survival. And it made sense for a couple of weeks. But if you think about how long this has lasted, or even it's lasting in a way in some countries, you realize that you got to have a plan and you got to adapt to this new world of the pandemic, because another pandemic can happen in 2 or 3 years. So after that rejection or survival mode, people started thinking actually more about strategy and say, where do I want to be in 2 or 3 years, given all the changes that this pandemic has brought to the world? And I think this is where we started getting many more people and many more customers reaching out, saying, I need to be more strategic in the way I'm leading my business. And strategy means adaptability. So if I have all the visibility on what's going on in my world, I will be able to adapt faster. I think as soon as you have this realization, you can start going actually with implementing a strategy faster and easier and better. One of the best examples of people who have kind of adapted the strategy very quickly was Uber. The example of Uber was pretty interesting because Dara Khosrowshahi, the CEO, came to their team and said, okay, Uber drivers will not be on the road anytime soon. We have another business on the side, which is Uber Eats. And Uber Eats needs to deliver the revenue of the year for Uber. And they were able to shift everything in a couple of weeks. All their resources were actually moved from Uber, the car ride, to the Uber Eats delivery. And they delivered their revenue, and their business was excelling in 2021 and 2020. So I think that adaptability is where we have seen a lot of customers coming to us for, and really thinking strategic and long-term, but also being able to adapt it as early as possible. So I think that strategy acceleration has happened definitely during the pandemic, and a lot of industries were impacted by this. But I would say the biggest ones, or the one that interacted faster with it, are obviously pharmaceutical companies like AstraZeneca, that is a customer of Cascade. Companies in logistics and supply chain had to have a fast adaptation to this new world, faster than anyone else, because they needed to survive, they needed to work, they needed to deliver. And obviously they were impacting every single industry, from manufacturing to food to cars to everything else. So I think these ones have accelerated faster than others. It's a long answer I gave you, but I hope I gave a good perspective on the acceleration.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's the challenges that everybody had to face. Certainly, Uber did have a great transformation into becoming a delivery company. It kept its drivers employed, and it enabled them to, people to get things that they didn't want to go out and didn't want to interact with others. It was a brilliant thing. And now, I mean, Uber Eats is an even bigger part of Uber's business today. And the delivery side of things is, they've transformed themselves into like a courier company. I mean, they were already transporting people. Why not things? Why, and of course, food is, just one aspect of that. So, it's a great example for us all, and just shows how quickly humans can adapt.
And reinventing themselves is super important. I think that transformation is not only about the digital transformation that companies put as an objective, is really about reinventing themselves. If you are the leader in actually a very large industry, you have to readapt and reinvent yourself all the time. There is a concept by, I think, Accenture that was really presented in 2018 or 2019 for the first time, which is that shark fin effect, and how people need to adapt to technologies way faster than what we had in the past decades, which is what we call the bell curve of technology, where you had a lot of time to adopt to new technology. Now it's much more of looking like a shark fin, where the people who adapt fast are the one that will survive and take most of the market share and the revenue from the market. So reinventing themselves is even more important than just adapting to what's happening.
Absolutely. So what are some of the customer success stories that you can share from both Australian and global customers?
Yeah, I think like over the past 7 years, Cascade has been working with very different industries and in very different countries. We have a lot of customers in Australia, but we have a lot of customers also in the US and Europe. And we try to help actually every single customer joining Cascade to adapt to that global world and learn from each other. One of our largest customers in the US is University of Sydney, and shaping higher education and what the standards of higher education should look like have been their mission. On the other side of the world, we have customers like AstraZeneca, as I mentioned, or Caterpillar or Carhartt. We also work with organizations like Johnson & Johnson, Toshiba, Amex. I can actually list many of them, but I think the biggest common thread between all of them is that willingness to adapt, willingness to make strategy more tangible and make it more measurable and trackable, so they can actually learn fast for that adaptation that we spoke about before.
Now, I always like to think of customers as being part of a company's R&D division, with customers asking for features and for benefits, and those requests are often very insightful. So what are some of the most interesting and surprising customer requests that have helped shape Cascade for the better?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I think we had to do this from day one because we knew that there was a problem, which is PowerPoint and spreadsheet cannot take a strategy to execution. And I think from day one, what we decided to do is really talk to the customer about that problem and build the solution from day one around what they think should be done. Because we're inventing a category, we're inventing almost a new solution that no one has looked at before. And I think the main concept that came definitely from our customers are anything in the platform that shows alignment. So how do teams align towards something bigger? How do we explore the misalignment between teams? Where are the gaps, or where are the successful people in a business that are doing a great job, but they are not doing the right job? Because everything they are doing is green, is on track, is even ahead of track. But at the same time, these initiatives were not needed for the strategy of the business to accelerate and move forward. So spotting these successful people and successful projects and align them with the bigger picture and the end in mind is something that we call alignment. And alignment is one of the most expensive things in large organizations, because when you are misaligned, you are not delivering. And misalignment is a concept that is super abstract sometimes. Marketing and sales speak about misalignment. Product and R&D speak about misalignment. Supply chain and manufacturing speak about misalignment. So making that alignment a bit more measurable and tangible was something that definitely came from our customers.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing in business or government. So, I mean, I think people definitely understand that and see it and lament it. And so anything that can help people get on that track of being properly aligned must obviously be a huge win for them. And I'm just guessing that Cascade itself must have been benefiting from all of these different learnings. I mean, how has Cascade itself used its own software to improve its own strategies?
I think using our software has made us reach the level where we are today. And obviously it was a bootstrap company for 4 or 5 years. We had no sales, we had no marketing spend, and we reached actually a good level of success and revenue by actually being that lean, focused on execution company, and obviously keeping always the strategy in mind. Now we grew from 28 people in January last year to 140 today, and that acceleration came also from the focus on the outcome that we're trying to achieve. And we realized that we had to go louder, we had to go bigger in the market, and we needed to build a new plan and a new strategy to go and tell the world about us. And that's how we reached that Series A of funding this year. And that's how actually we were able to invest a lot of our money into our teams, but also into our software. So definitely has been a great help to use Cascade for Cascade, but also it's super important for our teams to use it every day. So we are also feeling the pain when something doesn't go well or something that is not working.
Yeah. So you mentioned there's a free trial and you've got a freemium version coming soon. What else are the Cascade pricing structures?
Yeah, absolutely. So so there's a free version of Cascade that is coming soon for small teams or small businesses that are trying to execute with a strategic way. And this will be a limited version of the global platform that we have. It's a user-based pricing. So you pay by user. Now, ultimately, when you are rolling out Cascade to hundreds and thousands of users, there's a tiered pricing, and it's a package where we look at the services and the users. And we really look at that structure to align with the company rather than just what Cascade has as a pricing model. So we go into each company and then align with how they believe they could perceive value from Cascade and deliver the alignment on that contract together.
Now, Karim, as we get towards the end of the interview, I always like to ask some questions about yourself. So I'm just wondering, what is a bit about your own history in the world of tech before you came to Cascade?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm an IT engineer that has never coded in their life. And once I finished my master's degrees in engineering, I went actually to strategy consulting. And I did 3 years or so in strategy consulting, working with a lot of organizations on their PowerPoints and Excel files. And that was a very good, interesting thing to realize young in my career, because one of the biggest frustration was obviously that I was seeing the Excel files and the strategy PowerPoints never happening, but also that all of these consulting assignments I had were for transformation projects, and all of them were about the digital transformation at that phase. And today, 10 years or 15 years later, these digital transformations are still happening at the same pace as before. And we know that it's because of the strategy PowerPoint or the spreadsheets. After doing consulting for a couple of years, I moved to tech, and I worked for 3 big tech companies, obviously big like Amadeus and Expedia, and very promising unicorns like Safety Culture in Australia. I worked for Safety Culture for almost 3 years as well, and helping them with their strategy and their product strategy, most importantly. And that led me to Cascade a year and a half ago to manage actually the strategy of Cascade and the business overall.
And I always like to ask if you could please share a memory of your first computer.
Oh, wow. The first computer. Okay, so I think I remember it was very heavy and very old and very slow. Even then, I think it was pretty slow. But the biggest thing I remember it was that it wasn't secondhand, it wasn't fourth hand, it was maybe the 10th hand that touched this laptop. And my dad brought this to me, and I was very excited, but it was definitely a big computer.
And, from the past to the future, how do you see Cascade evolving over the next couple of years?
Yeah, we're getting a lot of traction in the world of strategy. And I think last year, the Strategy Festival in June made us realize how big the problem is and how many people are really starving for strategy knowledge and being part of that strategy itself. So this year, we're starting the new revolution of strategy with the festival on the 21st of June, if I remember well. And I think that is taking us to a place where we are becoming definitely the leader, the only leader in strategy execution in the market. That's what actually G2 Crowd also says. In terms of like software comparisons, we are at the top right of the grid. So I think we are in a good direction to be keeping that spot of leading the strategy execution and planning, but also having more of the verb side of Cascade. Cascade is a verb. Cascade is a powerful verb to cascade down visions and cascade up strategies and projects and ideas. And I definitely see us as a common verb, hopefully in the coming years, to say cascade it down, cascade it up, cascade it with Cascade. And that verb is already hopefully happening.
Yeah. And with the Strategy Festival, is that a physical event or is it presumably a hybrid event? And do people just go to your website to find out more and to register?
Yeah, so it's a festival and it's actually online for the time being to enable as many people to join it from the world. Obviously, with traveling and being in person, it's still a dependency for some people. So we kept it virtual for now. It's also a festival because it has much more than just speakers about strategy. We have this year McDonald's, we have Amazon, we have FedEx, we have Asahi, we have MasterCard, and confirming a couple more speakers to speak about strategy and the problem with strategy. But we also have sometimes magicians and dancers and singers and people teaching us how to win Monopoly games. So it's really a festival, and capturing all these speakers and the talent and entertainment is easier with online than offline or in person. But we're planning for a strategy palooza during the next 12 months, and that will be in person, hopefully. We're still defining the details.
Sure. And to look further into the crystal ball, where do you see Cascade in the 2030s? How might the company and the industry look in the next decade when we'll all be peering into the metaverse through our AR and VR glasses and our brains are ever more directly, wirelessly wired into the internet?
Yeah, so I think, to be very honest, I don't have a crystal ball and I would never know the future, but I would definitely say that given the pace of transformation and how many PowerPoint decks and spreadsheets I have seen, there's definitely a long way to go until getting there for businesses. Now, on the opposite side, I think machine learning is something that we should definitely start leveraging more often in organizations, and how we can look into the past to predict the future, and how we can help customers and companies in general look at trends in a much more effective way and connect dots faster than just what could happen in meetings and emails and on PowerPoint slides. So yeah, I definitely see a future where machine learning can help a lot organizations like the one we work with. But I definitely think that this pace, getting out of the spreadsheet and PowerPoint, has to accelerate to enable this transformation.
So my second last question is just simply to ask if you can please share some of the best pieces of advice that you've received in life to help you get where you are today.
Yeah. I think the biggest one is actually something that I learned also from Dara Khosrowshahi, the CEO of Uber, who was actually the CEO of Expedia before. And I think he always used to say that never be afraid of making mistakes. And that helped me a lot, because the more mistakes you make, the more you learn. And every single organization has to do this. Instead of actually procrastinating around the solution, instead of procrastinating around the idea or the plan, just do it, and do it even if it's okay done, because okay done is better than nothing. And that hypothesis that you have in mind, let's test it as soon as possible and learn from it, rather than just keeping it a long time, because afterwards it will become outdated and you got to find another hypothesis. But in the meantime, someone has done the work and has learned faster than you and definitely adapted to that new situation, and you are doomed or you're disappearing.
So Karim, what is your final message to ITY viewers and readers, and to your current and future customers and partners?
Adapt fast, really adapt fast, because the sharks are out there and they are eating as much as possible of the market share that you are playing for. So really test and learn, really adapt fast, and try to reinvent yourself compared to how the world is shaping up, instead of just being afraid of making that mistake. I think it's the same advice I would always give, because it's so simple, but it's so powerful. And I think as long as you are always keeping that end in mind, and the big picture of where you want to be and the vision that you want to take yourself and your business to, you will be always on the right track.
Well, Karim Zuhri, the COO of Cascade Strategy, thank you very much for your time. I wish you the best of success, and I hope we can talk again in the future.
Absolutely. Really enjoyed this call. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.